funny. I figured how to do that blurred background.
I'm going to give folks a few minutes to pop on here. It's just now 11 o'clock, and we are probably going to have a, well, I know we are going to have a much bigger group than usual because this is another joint meeting of the Worksite Wellness Coordinating Council and the PEB Member Advisory Council, and we've invited our PEB's partners, stakeholders, our carriers, MODA, Kaiser Providence, to attend as well, because this is all part of our information gathering phase and collecting data and from our member experience and use that's going to inform our next steps for developing and promoting wellness programs, our individual role as a council, and the PMAC, PEB Member Advisory Committee's role as well. So we're going to see a lot of new different faces who normally aren't on here. We've also got our partners from Uplift, Oregon, and Mercer, our consultants, are here too. So we've got one big happy family. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to introduce everyone, which is a typical part of our agenda. But I think that's okay. We've got a good presentation going, and we've got our faces and names up here, and I've just listed all of our stakeholders, and they will be reflected in the meeting notes that go out as well too. So, and I just sent February draft meeting notes that I had forgotten to send with the agenda last week. Approve those, and if we have a quorum to approve those, we'll want to do that. So I'm going to get the meeting started then. Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa Cross. I am the PEB OEB Wellness Manager, and I am staff for the Worksite Wellness Coordinating Council. We have a joint meeting today between the PEB Member Advisory Committee and the Worksite Wellness Coordinating Council, and we're here to get more information from our Employee Assistance Program, Canopy, on member experience and use. The purpose of this is to understand a little more about what our members are seeking assistance with through the EAP, get some more information to flesh out what we've heard already from Providence, MODA, and Kaiser. And all of that is going into our hopper as we chew on it, take a look at it, dissect it, and then work with our Mercer partner to come up with this plan of marrying our hard data with our soft data, with what we're hearing from members in focus groups and other information collecting efforts, as well as the HERO scorecard, which you're going to hear more about in a few months that PEB has just completed. All of this is informing our lay of the land, where things are now, and kind of giving us some clues about where our direction should be to support our members with their health and well-being needs. So I just sent out the February meeting notes. Have folks had a chance to look at that? And if not, would you mind taking a quick look at that? And then I'll entertain a motion to either adopt them as is or make any changes that you see that are needed. I'm not sure we have a quorum as I'm looking at everyone who's here from the council. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, we do not have a quorum right now. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on that. And if we do end up getting a quorum, we can revisit approving the minutes, the meeting notes from February. So now I'd like to introduce Shauna, and I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Shauna, and Humberto Chacon from our Employee Assistance Program, Canopy. They are here to share with us what they saw from our members this past year, what members are calling for, what their issues are presenting, and maybe some ideas and some stories also from members. So I'm going to and we'll go.
Sounds good. Hello. Let me see if I can get this going with my colleague Shauna, who will help me if there are some questions or things in chat that I should pay attention to, whatnot. But we're very happy to present some information that we picked up from looking at the data for the state of Oregon and talking to our counselors about experiences that members have expressed or have gone through. So hope to provide some good information and some food for thought and work with you all on promoting our services. So we will go over various things, including what Teresa said, some stories, because she and Brian told us that you would like to hear some stories. So we pulled those together. First, I want to just give a quick overview of the Canopy services for individual members. There are organizational services as well, but for members, we provide counseling. It's either 3 or 5 sessions, depending on the agency. Per incident per year. We do have crisis counseling. We're open 24/7. When someone calls into our call center, it's a mental health professional who is answering the line. We also have resources for life or work-life resources like childcare and elder care resources and referrals. We can do resource retrievals. We can help with taxes. We can help. Oh, that's interesting that we still have that on there. Various financial issues, identity theft, and also we have a home ownership program. We can provide a referral to an attorney. We have lots of different EAP tools like coaches and gym membership discounts and pet insurance discounts. Something that's new that we started last year was fertility health support. And we have a website with lots of different resources, as well as an app that people can go through an assessment around different mental health issues or topics and receive modules or help set goals and learn about different topics. So lots of different resources are available from Canopy. So we looked at the utilization rate and also showed some comparison to the Canopy book of business as well as the national average for EAPs. State of Oregon last year had 8.1% utilization. We're very conservative in what we consider utilization. It's just open cases where we helped individuals get to a provider or provider to resource. We don't count in utilization things like web hits or something like that. On national average, we're much higher than EAP industry in general. They're typically at 5%, or if a group has what's called an embedded EAP, where it's like part of a disability plan or something, usually those are like in 1 to 2%. So very robust utilization by state of Oregon employees.
And Humberto, this is Brian. So I did want to comment that even though the utilization is high, if we look at that previous slide, every time we present this information to member or stakeholder groups, the typical reaction is, wow, there's a lot more stuff that Canopy provides for members than we realize. And it's not just for when you're in a crisis moment. And I have a feeling with everything that folks have experienced during the pandemic, that one of the things we'll want to explore going forward is, again, how to better connect members directly to all those other services that can really help them out during the pandemic. And even though Cascade has done a great job at promoting utilization within PEB, I think just given the fact that we see there's a lot of need out there, we would love utilization to increase and get more members to reach out to Canopy and to see how much those services could assist them. So just a commentary.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we will talk later. We'll show you some data. We did identify some areas where it looks like there's some underutilization. We would have expected higher utilization, and we think that's an opportunity for us to maybe promote certain things because there are so many different, resources. Maybe we should highlight a few other ones that we don't see as much. So you'll see the data. So took a look at the top counseling presenting issues, and the next slide is the resources for life or work life issues or topics. So look back at 2019. So if we look at the 2019 column, Marriage and relationship was the #1 issue that state of Oregon employees called in to receive a counseling referral about. Then it was stress, then depression, then family, then anxiety. And that's typical for our book of business. Looks kind of like that. In 2020, with the pandemic, and we did add a question shortly after the pandemic started around COVID concerns as a presenting issue. So when we add anxiety and COVID concerns, that shot up to #1. So anxiety went from 5th to 1 to 1st. And then it was marriage, and then family, depression, and then work. In 2021, marriage retook the top spot. Anxiety's still high, it's #2, and then family, depression, and stress. And then so far in the first 3 months of 2022, marriage and anxiety are actually neck and neck. So marriage slightly higher, and then depression, family, and stress. And it's similar to what we've seen in our book of business, where during the pandemic, anxiety was very high. And then as vaccines came available and kind of just more experience with the pandemic, the anxiety went down, but there's other things going on. So it's still high, but it seems to be trending down overall. Then if we look at the work life requests, that we looked at, housing support is something, discounted housing program, like for discounted mortgage and whatnot. So it must have been really good promotion, I think, state of Oregon around that program, because that's higher than in our book of business for it to be the #2 item. Then we have financial and resource retrieval, running into number 3. Resource retrievals are where we put a consultant on a search around all sorts of different topics. It could be someone's new to a place and they're looking for different service providers, or they're looking for help in finding an apartment or something like that. We can help them with that. What we found in 2021 is that we did have more resource retrievals regard to the wildfires. So different people were impacted by the wildfires, and they were looking for different programs and resources and whatnot. So this is interesting. And what's something that we didn't see so much. Well, I'll get to in a bit when we get to kind of some ideas that we have, because go back up here to the counseling. One thing we didn't see in the top 5 is coaching, and that is something that we do. So we'll end up talking a little bit about maybe coaching is something that we want to promote a bit more. So we talked to our counselors about different members that they've helped, as well as just like some overall typical kinds of cases that they've been dealing with. So they helped with a couple of write-ups that we try to put into a bit of a story form. So try to come up with some gender neutral names here to just make up a name. But like what Lee was experiencing was fairly consistent with what we've heard many other state of Oregon employees dealing with, which is anxiety and depression with work-life balance struggles, as well as just finding it hard to stop working or to take a break from their job. That's been a common theme that we've heard from state of Oregon employees. And that line between work and personal life is kind of fuzzy, right? So people, find that their work time maybe goes into time that they could take for self-care, for taking care of family or something else in their life. So Lee did speak with a Canopy therapist and identified some ways to have boundaries and take time for self-care and collaborate with their manager regarding assignment expectations. And they did report decreased worries, improved mood, better ability to focus. And I'll show you some data in a little bit, because we do a pre and a post assessment to look at outcomes, kind of workplace outcomes. So, and by the way, I do see a chat question here about will we send the slides? I'm going to send the slides to Teresa, and Teresa can share them. So that's one story. It was Lee's story, which was fairly typical. This is a direct quote from a member, which was, "I love Canopy's benefits. I have accessed multiple services and every experience has improved my life somehow. I feel fortunate to have access to all of the benefits, especially during the pandemic. Counseling, home buying experience, health and well-being management, and webinars have all had a positive impact. I will continue to access Canopy benefits as needed." So this is someone who had a good experience over the years and has come back to use for us to see. Then we have another story of what we've heard from State of Oregon members, which was Cruz was feeling burned out and low. There was work stress, family responsibilities, and health issues were taking their toll on Cruz's well-being. But Cruz knew from experience that talking to someone could help. And as one of Cruz's friends mentioned, there's a reason they tell you on a plane to put on your face mask first in case of emergency. So Cruz called Canopy, and we referred Cruz to a life coach. So that's one thing I was saying, maybe we want to promote life coaching a little bit more. So the life coach helped Cruz identify healthy habits and ways to get started. And with the encouragement of that coach, Cruz made a few changes, started a few new things, and was feeling more energized and happier. And Cruz did indicate that it was a positive and empowering experience, and that they're on their way to practicing even better self-care and taking care of their job and family responsibilities. And something like Teresa was saying, it'd be great if we could do more to let people know that, you don't have to wait for it to be a crisis, right? We're also there in times of calm, or when you're starting to feel like things are starting to affect you, right?
I just want to say one thing, Cruz, on the tail end of that. Something that my friend Gayla said when she offered trainings to folks back when we did in person. She said, if you're not sure you need to call the EAP, call the EAP and find out. Because chances are, if you've got a question about something, if you're feeling a information to answer the question, to settle you, or to,
I would say for the council and PMAC members who are attending, just start thinking about, if you agree that, increasing use of these services could benefit our population, start thinking about the reasons maybe why we haven't seen that uptick. I know when PED promotes things, we send out so many communications that sometimes people just tune it out. So I think Teresa and I would be really interested in just ideas folks have to better connect members with Cascade and to let them know everything that's available in a more effective way. So just something to think about and chew on as we're moving forward together.
Yes. And something to piggyback off what kind of Teresa was talking about. It is a mental health professional to answer the phone at Canopy. So it is someone that can help them. And that this next story, I think will kind of illustrate that. Yeah. So they can help them with in-the-moment support, but they also get to various resources, right? Maybe counseling, maybe other things. So Pat was suffering from anxiety and stress, dealing with the fear of catching COVID, relationship issues with her spouse, and money worries. So Pat tried different techniques to deal with the worries, like trying not to think about the worries, but the worries kept building. So Pat was at their wit's end, called Canopy, the mental health professional on the phone, provided in-the-moment phone consultation where Pat identified that going for a walk had helped in the past in dealing with stress and anxiety, and it would be a good idea to try that again. Pat received a referral to a therapist along with a referral to a money coach. So after a few sessions of speaking with the therapist and then also with the money coach, Pat found that making plans and taking different actions helped them to feel better and more in control. Pat expressed, their gratefulness and indicated that therapy helped them identify practical ways to deal with anxiety, and the money coach helped them with setting a plan and starting to get their finances in order. So we have all sorts of resources. And we do this pre and post test. I wanted to show you this outcomes. So we do a test, an assessment before the member sees the counselor and then 90 days later. And what we show is that there's a 48% reduction in absenteeism, a 28% reduction in presenteeism, or we like to say an increase in focus, and then a 22% increase in life satisfaction. And on the experience side, we know that there is a perception of provider shortage, and it is difficult to get in to see providers, but we work really hard to manage our network and to help members get in to see providers. And so on average, members are able to meet with a provider within 5.5 days. And we actually have been doing a lot around having more diversity in the network. So we've added more BIPOC providers, and we actually have a little bit better numbers on members accessing BIPOC providers, where it's more like 4.5 to 5 days to the first appointment. And it's really high member satisfaction and customer retention. So when we were looking just at kind of what we were expecting to see from the data, we know that stress in America is high, right? The American Psychological Association last year found that 71% of employees reported typically feeling tense or stressed out during the workday. And there are various studies, but the American Heart Association definitely looks at this. They found that common stressors are money, family responsibilities, work, and health issues. So we expect to see more accessing of the money coaching, which is an unlimited benefit for people to talk to money coaches as much as they'd like. And we didn't really see that. So we think there's an opportunity there. Now, part of it, when I was looking at this, is some of it's on how we promote. I know this is kind of hard to read, these thumbnails, but one shows it up near personal consultation with an EAP professional, that it's 3, the other is 5, basically, and then it's the same. But these are service recaps or service summaries that are a key communication piece with members. But I don't see that we actually put coaching on here, right? The life coaching, which I think was something that is an opportunity for us to put on. But maybe there's something in how we highlight or promote things that we can do differently, so that we have people aware of other resources from Canopy. We can put together customized materials for the state of Oregon, or specific resource promotional materials. So like financial coaching, we can promote the app, right, which is an easy way to connect with us. On this Resources for Life, down toward the bottom, it's childcare and elder care. We could have flyers just around childcare and elder care, because we don't actually see, that's a very low usage by state of Oregon members. So maybe we need to promote that more. And then life coaching, we just put together this life coaching flyer. So maybe that's something to highlight.
I have a
Yes,
question.
Brian.
You mentioned that you got your efforts in just diversifying your provider panel.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit what that looks like if a member calls, and if they want to, if they prefer to talk to someone who has similar experiences to them or similar background, how does that happen? How does the member, do they need to request it, or is that part of the intake or screening, or how does that happen?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for Shauna. Shauna actually has a
Yeah.
clinical background. I don't. I
Mhm.
but Shauna does. Shauna, you want to
Yeah,
take that one?
I'm happy, absolutely happy to answer that. And it's a great question too, because that is really important to so many members, making sure that they are matched with a provider that they feel comfortable with meeting and having that potentially long-term rapport with, right? So when we do our clinical intake, so when a member does reach out to us for counseling services, we ask them a variety of questions to kind of narrow down what services are going to be most helpful for them. And then also, if we are connecting them with a counselor for ongoing counseling sessions, we want to find out things like matching to a clinical specialty, and are they wanting a specific gender of their counselor? Are they looking for a specific race or ethnicity, religion, accessibility for their office if they're going in, right? So there's all of these things that we can match to on the back end to ensure that that member has everything that they're looking for when they are getting that initial connection. It's such an important point of connection with that member too, so that, you know, we're not just giving them a list of providers that they then have to call around and try and see, you know, who's going to be the best fit. We're really trying to do that upfront. So they only have to make the one call to us, get that referral to the counselor. And
thank you, Shauna.
Thank you, Shauna.
Did you mention language too? Right, we also have language as a
language as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so all sorts of different ways to match a member to a provider. Here's just some other promotional materials. We're trying to be more attention grabbing, less text, more visual, you know, because we know we are, you know, vying for people's attention. So just some examples. We can do occupation specific promotions. So maybe if someone's in law enforcement or corrections or healthcare or something like that, we can do posters or flyers that speak to that population. So with that, I'm wondering kind of what ideas, questions people initially have, and maybe I should stop share here.
So this is Brian again. I don't mean to dominate, but the conversation, but I do have a question I think PMAC and the council may be interested in, which is, and maybe this is for Shauna, a clinical question, but if a member calls in and just says, you know, I'm just overwhelmed. I got a bunch of stuff going on. I just need to talk to someone. So they'll talk to the intake staff, and that person will ask the member a bunch of questions and set them up with the right, you know, people. Let's say they're referred to, you know, a counselor for, you know, their 3 or 5 sessions. At some point, if the counselor or the member in EAP agree that, you know, maybe they need some more behavioral health services that are more appropriate through their medical plan, can you talk about how that happens and what you guys can do? Again, it's not just helping the members with their situation, you know, outside of work and everything, but can you talk about how you also assist the members in making that connection and how you would coordinate with the medical plans?
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. And I should have mentioned that earlier when I was talking about those specialties. So that's another point of connection that we are matching to in that initial process. So in addition to all of those other specialties, clinical requests from the member, all of that, we do also ask about medical insurance because we can match to a variety of different medical insurance providers for that ongoing counseling. Sometimes people meet with the counselor for their 3 or 5 sessions and they're like, you know what, I feel good. I'm going to stop right there. I use my EAP sessions and that's it. But there are a lot of cases where somebody wants to continue on under their insurance plan. And that's a point of connection that we can make, ensuring that they don't have to switch counselors after they do their 3 or 5 sessions because they were connected with someone on Providence or whatever the provider might be.
Mm-hmm. As well as we may identify it would be good for the member to see a psychiatrist, and we don't have MDs in our network, and so, you know, we can help them, right, identify that and hopefully see a psychiatrist within the health plan, right? And we might be a bridge until someone gets in to see, you know, another kind of provider as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Humberto, you know, let's say the member finds out from their medical plan that they can't get in for a few weeks. There are still all the other types of supporting services you could provide to the member to deal with stress,
yes,
anxiety in the meantime. So I just want to make sure we paint that picture for the council and the committee.
Good point.
That's an important point. We all know what it's like to call and be told, well, we don't have appointments for, you know, 8, 12 weeks, but the Canopy is there for you until you can get that specialized care through your provider.
Yeah, good points.
So this is related. This is Stephen from Mercer. Related to that question, what you're out of sessions, and I guess the backdrop to that question is 3 to 5 sessions isn't a lot. I work with a lot of clients who have many more than that. So it's what is your book of business, or even better, what state of Oregon's specific rate of resolution within the 3 to 5 sessions that are allowed?
Shauna, do you have the numbers? I have a general idea. I could get back to you, Stephen, but
Yeah, I don't have the specifics for state of Oregon on what the case resolution rate is. We'd have to look into it, but we absolutely could.
I think it's a pretty important statistic, and it especially relates to is the question, does Canopy alone, or does Canopy in combination with the medical behavioral health resources adequately address the needs of the population, the entire population, all the time? And it's something that we're seeing a lot across organizations across the country and regionally as well.
And a note for
the same thing.
I was going to say a note for the council and PMAC is that if we don't feel the 3 and 5 visit model is enough to complete some cases, then that's really kind of a contract and a board renewal issue that we would want to work with Canopy and our board, the decision makers with. Because it's possible that maybe we don't have the right, service levels. And I will say part of this, I think part of our efforts, we can all agree, is trying to get more members who could benefit from EAP to reach out to EAP. If we're successful at that, if we're really successful at that, then we may have to have some conversations with Canopy about, increasing rates, increasing service levels. And that's not a bad thing. I want to be clear that kind of like increasing utilization to primary care, it's an overall net positive. So I just wanted to put that qualifier out there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and as Stephen was indicating, we're seeing the trend to going to more counseling visits within the EAP plan. So definitely quite a few groups going to 6, 8, even more. So definitely a trend over the last few years to have more within the EAP plan. What other questions, or what are some ideas people might have as far as promoting or highlighting or anything?
Hi, this is Gayla Andreessen, and I had, I'm not sure if you're going to touch on any of the webinars, but in my experience, we haven't really traditionally offered many of the financial sessions, because I know each agency gets a certain number of free hours each year, and it regenerates itself each year. And so that's one of the areas that we really haven't promoted very much, because it costs us some money to do it. And then also, once we've done like a special session, because recently we had some sessions that were kind of developed around all the anxiety that was being produced up in Portland with, all the rioting and all of the violence with shooting and COVID, all of that kind of mixed in together. And so that costs the agency some funds to have that developed. But then I'm not sure if every time then you want to be about how often do these sessions kind of get switched up and changed, because we've had them all brought forth, and we try to record them and try to keep promoting and putting them on the DHS website. But we were just kind of had some questions about, well, gosh, we already did that session, and so is it going to be something new, or is it just how we can promote it? So those are kind of the areas that I've seen that I was just thinking that, wow, it'd be nice if maybe the financial didn't cost us money, and then maybe if we did a special set, that maybe then, and see, I'm not sure if it actually cost us money additionally, because we were trying to see if we could do some more of those in some different locations, not necessarily Portland, just because people did find those helpful. But anyway.
And Gayla, if you don't mind, this is Brian. I'm going to jump in. In my day job, I am the contracts team lead for PEB, so I'm not just speaking up just for the fun of it. In terms of what PEB purchases from Cascade in this overarching contract that we have. We purchase or we ask Cascade to provide those 2 service levels, the 3-visit and 5-visit model. And we also ask them to provide so many cumulative hours of general on-site. It could be, I think, critical incident stress debriefing. In addition to, I think there's so many banks of hours of training type stuff, and those are finite based on, all of the rates and financials we've built into that contract. So to the extent we identify a need to have more of those hours available, that would be something that we would want to go to the PEB board. That's not a Canopy issue per se. They're not the ones deciding whether to charge you guys or not. It's just a matter of what our master contract says. So I think one thing we can do with Canopy is try to identify, and with members, are those cumulative hours that currently are banked and shared among all the agencies, are they adequate in light of the past few years? And if not, what would it look like contractually to increase them, and how would that impact costs? And then the other thing, Gayla, that I think we may want to talk about as one of a long-term or even medium-term, I don't want to call it fix, but something that PEB can do as the entity that holds the master contract is, I think there's always going to be things outside of the scope of PEB's contract with Canopy that agencies may want to purchase directly. We don't want to impede that ability, because every agency may have unique PEB and Canopy, and then our attorneys could work together to maybe figure out a way where we could have, and I'm just throwing this out there, obviously we'd have to work with DOJ, but where we would have basically a pre-approved DOJ contract template, and maybe a suite of those add-on services from Cascade. So when the need arises at an individual agency, we can have the procurement stuff and the contract stuff largely ironed out. So that way your staff doesn't get bombarded with, some of those requests that are still subject to all of our procurement requirements. And so I know that was a mouthful, but that's one thing that we've started to think about, and I think we could anticipate potentially doing together.
I like that idea, Brian, is building some flexibility into the contract, because as we've all learned over the last couple years, life happens and you can plan, but we had a pandemic that happened, and then all of these other things, the wildfires and so forth. So there's got to be some nimbleness and some flexibility in being able to quickly deploy services and supports to employees and to agencies, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, and so the end goal would be, when that happens, and the agency reached out to Cascade, Cascade would say, hey, so we worked with PEB, and we have this pre-approved contract that DOJ has already vetted and approved. You need to tell us what services there are. And then from our understanding, the approval on the state side, you just have to run it really quickly by DOJ to confirm and then sign it. And that should take away a lot of the hoops, hurdles, and challenges that come up with those sorts of requests, because these are the types of requests that typically are fairly urgent. Something's happening in the agency, and you don't want to wait till 2 months from now to try to resolve it. So that's what we could envision doing, in addition to looking at the service levels and the banked hours. I think it's a 2-part approach.
Right. Yeah. So
there are a couple of comments, and did you want to?
Yes, I see that too. No, I'm so glad somebody wrote about ERG. That was going to
in the chat. Emily, do you want to read your comment, or do you want me to? And then after Emily, Kelly.
Oh yeah, sure. Thanks. And this is my first meeting with the Worksite Wellness Coordinating Council. I'm one of the newer PMAC members. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a current co-chair of OHA's People of Color Employee Resource Group. And actually, we also partner with the Black African American ERG at OHA as well on a number of initiatives. And we're just now starting to partner again with ODHS. So I'm at OHA, but that ODHS, their APANET ERG, the API ERG, because of Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. all 3 of our ERGs, the Black ERG, POC ERG, and so we brought in a psychologist, Hmong American psychologist, to actually do one of the 3 sessions that we had to kind of center on our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander state agency staff, and to help, support this crisis, emotional. There's just so many biases, microaggressions, violence even, and so to give them some additional support. And unfortunately, the hate crimes have increased dramatically since last year. So I don't know if folks are watching, but one woman got stabbed 41 times in her apartment complex. Another one got pushed to her death in front of the subway at the New York Times, or the Times Square subway stop. But yeah, so we're trying to get a better handle on the demographic data specific to Oregon, but for sure people are able, there's ways for people to report hate crimes. But I just wondered if there was a way to, I don't know, pilot like this newer, a different promotional, a different way to promote EAP, and we could focus on the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander community for this May. And then we could do other communities like the Black African American community. They just had their Heritage Month. That could have been, a way to also partner. But I mean, there'll still be additional ways to partner. But and right now, the RAIN ERG at Oregon Department of Human Services just reached out because they want to do something about Russia and yeah, just the whole thing there.
Yeah.
So for Canopy, what does that look like? So besides the training hours we get, what does your bandwidth look like for kind of promotional or just like educating about what's available?
So we have spoken with different ERGs at different customers where they have regular meetings or they have a special meeting and they want to do some promotion of EAP services to that group. So we have done that, and we'd love to come in and talk about our services with different groups. We have put together some promotional materials that have that just we have done some of that in our promotional material. We have done some seminars for different ERGs, but mostly it's talking to promoting or presenting to different ERGs. So Emily, at State of Oregon, are there like regular meetings, or is there opportunities to talk to groups?
Yes, our POC ERG meets monthly. We have a monthly business meeting, and we also have a monthly collective care meeting. And I should add that we did partner with EAP to bring in a therapist, a group therapist for our Black African American members when George Floyd got murdered. So we were able to get 1 free session per year. So it'd be great to get more than just the one, because they had a really great experience with Andrea, but then we had to wait for the next year to bring her back. And there was a lot of, time lapse in between there. So yeah, we would love to explore doing that more.
Yeah. So how would we all get together, or how would we, coordinate that, discuss that, plan?
Yeah,
like Humberto, I was going to say, I think part of it is telling PEB, again, since we have the master contract, I do want to distinguish between training sessions that are in contract up to so many hours versus just educating people about the services provided. So in terms of visiting, meetings or attending ERG meetings just to inform members of what's available, is that in and of itself very problematic for you guys? Just that sort of request?
No, that's not
Now,
we love
Emily,
it.
in terms of the request of if we wanted to have like a work session or bring in a counselor, that sort of stuff that would be subject to the hours we purchase under the master contract, we would need to, again, work with our board and Canopy to potentially get approval to increase those hours. And that's something that is part of what we do every year with our contractors. So, but it wouldn't be an immediate, it's not something we would be able to push forward immediately. It would have to go through our board, and then have to be reflected in a contract amendment, but it is definitely on the table to discuss. So I think for Sean, definitely take this information back to your team and maybe after this meeting, and we can set something up with our kind of our operations folks just to make sure we're not getting ahead of ourselves too much. But Emily, a lot of different, I think, things we can do in relation to EAP and the EAP contract to increase visibility and outreach. And again, in terms of if you want Canopy to attend just to inform, various groups about what's available, I'll leave that up to Humberto and Shauna to talk about what that process is. And again, Shauna, Humberto, you can offline talk to Teresa and I about there's something impacted in the contract. And then in the meantime, I think what we want to continue doing this month into next month with the next couple of PMAC meetings is to continue exploring brainstorming, not only for Canopy, but also for the medical carriers, is how do we make that direct connection with members better? PEB will continue to look at how we communicate and market things. That's something we will always do. But it feels to me that the most effective immediate solution may be one that we're kind of a middle person, just connecting members with the carriers and the EAP with Canopy directly.
Right. Yeah.
That sounds really great. I just wanted to add that and then some of you already know, Brian knows, and actually some of the Uplift folks know, but we have done survey with our members, and then also the ERG members about their wellness needs. And for sure, like elder care came up, child care came up, legal came up. So yeah, at some point it'll be great to like link those, match, align.
Yes.
What does Canopy have resources to help with? Maybe what does Uplift have resources to help with? What, just the carriers. So yeah, all of us together.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. And we were thinking that there probably is some unaddressed elder care, child care needs, Like I was wondering, is there a child care or a parenting ERG?
There is at OHA there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
because
we've spoken with some parenting ERGs, right?
Oh yeah,
at other groups, and
yeah, they
they're
have
very
the
appreciative.
Healthy Families ERG. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll talk to Teresa and Brian and see about connecting with them. And we'd love to come and speak to different groups.
There may be some more additional agencies that are putting employee resource groups in place, because right now, my understanding is that Oregon Health Authority and Oregon Department of Human Services are the two that have any ERGs, but the agency wellness plans that executive branch agencies are asked to complete does have a recommendation that they explore employee resource groups as a way to address some of the emotional and mental health needs. So I will make myself a note to kind of check some of my contacts and see if there are efforts afoot elsewhere to get some ERGs going. And I also wanted to make sure that Kelly was able to get her question answered. So Kelly, would you like to ask it, or would you like me to ask it? It's in the chat.
Oh, sure. Thanks so much, Humberto and Shauna, for this. It was super helpful. And, Uplift Oregon is a labor management partnership. And so we want to support and help get this information out to folks as well. And so one of the ways we're thinking about focusing our outreach with state employees is understanding the demographics of who is accessing it. And especially the salary level can be an important indicator, because clearly the fewer resources somebody has, the more important their benefits. And so I was just wondering, for those stats that you shared with us, if you have some of that global information you can share with us, because that would be really helpful.
We do. So Teresa and Brian, do you have the utilization reports? I think maybe Julie would have sent that. So the demographic data that we capture is toward the end of that report. So we do capture.
I could get that report to you, Kelly.
Shauna, we don't capture the salary data though, right? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we capture the age range,
Right.
and then whether it's the employee alone, or if they're bringing in their family members for some family counseling, or a dependent alone. But we also don't capture the race or gender or geography of the member either.
But there's some demographic data there. And then it also made me think of social determinants of health, and our providers are adept at addressing that. And we can do things like resource retrievals around different programs and whatnot to help people with maybe food or, transportation, education, all sorts of different things. So that is one of the services that we provide, is doing these resource retrievals, helping people find programs and resources that are out there for them. And our providers and our intake staff are adept at helping people with that. So that is something that we deal with, definitely. How are we doing on time? Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
Can I share one short idea? Just those flyers that you showed us earlier, I think were really great. And what I'm wondering, Brian and Teresa, is if it would help to indicate that doing one of those sessions is actually a health action. So to connect for people that this counts for their hem, which kind of like lowers the obstacles, right? And raises the stakes.
And that is something that we could absolutely take to PMAC next month or in May. So, and I don't know if we've done that for EAP, but we've done that for other programs where we could say, hey, if you reach out to Canopy, just reaching out counts as 2 health actions. Because honestly, it feels to me like if we can just get more members in the door to make the call, that's going to go a long way towards, increasing utilization that should be increased. I just don't think that people understand really everything that Canopy can provide. And for people who are really hesitant to go straight to a behavioral health professional, I'm like, call Canopy. Kind of dip your toe in the water, talk about what's going on, and it's a good start.
Exactly.
So this is Stephen from Mercer once again. Related to this discussion, we've been talking about going directly to the ERGs and directly to the people, but one stakeholder group that's really important in identifying and helping facilitate these services is the manager group, right? The direct supervisors, line supervisors, managers. So the question is, what resources does Canopy have available to support managers in, number one, knowing what's available, 2, recognizing opportunities to refer one of their team members as appropriate, and just how to deal with these things, because we see this happen all the time where, especially now in the world of transitioning back partially to an in-person workplace, a hybrid arrangement. Some people who may have developed behavioral health issues during this lockdown could have now developed behavioral health issues that might even be injurious to them and others if they came back to the workplace. So do we help managers recognize that?
Yeah, so we do have resources around that. So we can provide management consultations with our clinicians for managers who call in and are concerned about maybe team members that they have, or if something's going on where they would like a consultation with a professional. We also have seminars just for managers about recognizing mental health issues in the workplace and helping people get to resources, as well as reintegrating back into the workplace, that sort of thing, as well as orientations for managers. And we also have promotional materials just for managers. So it's definitely something that we have quite a bit of.
Knowing that management service largely are still PEB members, my guess is that management probably is in the same boat as all other members in terms of just not being aware. So does anyone on the council or Kelly have any ideas about how to most effectively connect Canopy with an HR management group or something where, there are some identified HR stakeholders that would really promote it or really give us the best information for how to best arm management with better information?
I
Any
think
ideas?
that Julie has met with Julie from Canopy does meet regularly, at least annually, with the HR managers group that's convened through DAS. But there might be other opportunities. But it looks like Kelly.
If that's been done in the past, then I guess I would just say then we want to then at least change up the way we're doing it to get more uptake. So yeah, I'd be interested in just I think our goal is to brainstorm over the next month or two to figure out ways to more effectively connect members with these types of services. And I think we can do the same thing with management, is like, how do we more effectively get the message and information to management, and knowing that employees in management service, that's a lot of employees. And so, yeah, again, a lot of people to educate, and a lot of them are probably starting at the same point as any member, just not realizing what's out there.
So there is an HR manager who is on the council, and I believe he's in the meeting today. Chris, if you are still in the meeting, can you speak to that, the issue of an HR manager's connection with Canopy and promoting those services?
So from my experience, I have not had anybody from Canopy come out and chat with HR management. Speaking for my agency, if we'd be happy to post a link on our HR website to act as a conduit to help people find access to these resources. But yeah, from the best of my recollection, I haven't seen anything kind of work its way down from DAS HR meetings in the past. Does that help?
That's good to know.
It does. Just out of curiosity, if you had to communicate something to your employees that something's available that could benefit them, for your employees, what's the most effective way to do that? Because I feel like, again, EAP, it gets lost among all the other benefit and other information that we, churn out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably how I would do is, try to send a communication to all staff, knowing that a good chunk of our workforce doesn't really typically access email. They're out working on the roads, what have you. Asking their managers to post something. So maybe like a flyer. That's one alternative. The other one is to have it posted on our HR. If you don't know, you don't know. And so if they don't think to look there, then they'll never know about the tools. And so typically we would try to communicate to that lowest common denominator, that try to communicate to that population that isn't dependent on electronics, to do their jobs. Many will go weeks without checking emails, or scrolling through the website, trying to find that information. So, but
do those folks? Oh, sorry. Do those folks typically get like paper checks too? Like, is there some sort of? I'm just wondering, like a stuffer we could put in with.
Yeah, very few get paper checks.
Okay.
Very few that wouldn't meet. That wouldn't hit a very large demographic.
We have been contacted by certain agencies for wallet cards. So HR or other folks have given different people wallet cards. So that's an idea as well.
With the folks that Chris is mentioning, and he works for ODOT, if you didn't pick that up already. Talking about people working on the roads. It really is the manager's direct connection to employees, because these are folks who are out in the field and they just do not have desk jobs. They aren't working with computers, and they will go a long period of time without checking emails. And so it's hard copies and the relationship and connection with managers holding staff meetings.
Right. Yeah, we'd love to do more promotion through HR.
One other question that came up here, does Canopy have a chat function on their website or offer remote assistance? And this is thinking about people in Eastern Oregon, people who are maybe a little more isolated, not near a place where they can access a service.
Shauna, do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a chat function on our member site, so members can go to my.canopywell.com and create their own username and password. From there, they can chat with a counselor. Additionally, we do provide telehealth services as well. So if somebody does want to meet with the counselor but doesn't want to go in person, or they don't feel comfortable yet, or whatever the reason might be, we can do virtual counseling sessions as well. So that's another opportunity there. But absolutely, we can live chat with the members too.
Well, it's noon and I want to respect everybody's time. This has been a really, really rich discussion. Lots of great ideas. Thank you so much, Humberto and Shauna, for being here. And thank you, everyone else, all of our partners who are at the meeting today and sharing their thoughts and questions and ideas. Brian and I are going to take this back and keep moving our well-being framework forward so we can get our members the services and supports they need.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.